USC takes their 6-0 record across the country to play in the greatest intersectional rivalry in all of college football against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. This is a game that is filled with storylines. Lincoln Riley against Marcus Freeman, offensive mind versus defensive mind. Alex Grinch against Jared Parker, a struggling Trojan defense versus a sluggish Irish offense. Does Notre Dame have any fight left? Can USC win in South Bend for the first time since 2011? So much intrigue, so much at stake. It's USC, it's Notre Dame, Jewel Chilele on the line. Let's go. What's up, guys? My name is Gabe and welcome into the Trojan Blade. This is a big one, no other way to put it. This is the first big-time opponent that SC has faced this year. This is by far the most difficult road test to this point, and this is the most pressure that's been on this team at any point this year as well. Lincoln and Caleb have been very vocal in their support of the Trojan defense. We'll get to see it this week. Lincoln Riley pretty much said it's a media narrative that the SC defense hasn't been good, which is one of the biggest lies I've ever heard by a coach. But hey, they get to go out and show us this week. And guys, before we do get into it today, this video is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticketing service that takes tickets from all over the web and puts them into one incredibly easy to find place. They even grade every single ticket on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know if you're getting a fair deal or not. And SeatGeek is now hooking my subscribers up with $20 off your first order when you use my promo code TrojanBlade at checkout. Thank you so much, SeatGeek, for sponsoring today's video. Alright guys, so let's get into this here, and we'll start by meeting the head coach of the Irish. It is of course second-year head man Marcus Freeman. Marcus is someone I have a ton of respect for. He's a very smart guy that does things the right way. I thought the job he did last year with Buckner and Pine as his two quarterbacks was one of the more impressive jobs I've seen, especially as a first-year coach that was just a year removed from being a coordinator at the Group of 5 level. He's a very young coach that is still getting the hang of things. The only issue here is that at a program like Notre Dame, you don't get the luxury of time. You've got to get that thing rolling fast. And over the last few weeks, we've really started to see some signs that maybe it won't work out the way people thought it would. Everyone knows about the 10-man issues during the Ohio State game, but the thing that has ND fans fuming is the handling of the offense during press conferences. For those of you who don't know, former Notre Dame offensive coordinator Tommy Rees left this offseason to go to Alabama. When Coach Freeman began the search for his replacement, Utah offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig was option 1. During his interview, Marcus took him to a hockey game on campus, which to me seemed like putting pressure on the administration to pony up the cash to cover his buyout. In typical Notre Dame fashion, of course, they didn't do that. The school was receiving a ton of bad press. So what was the school's bright idea to put fans' minds at ease? They promoted the tight end coach. And shocker, that appears to have been the wrong move. Jared Parker is a great tight end coach, but as an offensive coordinator, we're just seeing a worse version of what Tommy Rees did. And that's saying something. The second Notre Dame started playing quality competition, the offense went off a cliff. Now, in their defense, they have played top 25 defenses 3 weeks in a row. But still, when you look explosive against Navy, Tennessee State, Central Michigan, and NC State, but look dreadful against Ohio State, Duke, and Louisville, for me and a lot of Irish fans, it's just hard to take the first 4 games serious. Back to Freeman though, he's obviously a defensive guy. Scheme-wise, they'll run a 3-3-5 or even a 4-2-5. Last year, they were primarily in that 4-2-5 against USC, and I would expect to see that as their base in this game as well. Alrighty, so let's flip over and meet this Irish offense. Okay, so we touched on them a little bit ago, but we can't go any further discussing the offense without talking about the man pulling the trigger. It's Wake Forest transfer Sam Hartman. Now, for the first time this year, an opposing quarterback actually has something that's better than Caleb. Sam's hair and beard are absolutely elite, 10 out of 10 flow, and that beard is just fantastic as well. If this game comes down to who has the best hair, we might be in big trouble. But in addition to being first team all flow, Sam also has 126 career touchdowns to his name. This is as experienced a quarterback as you'll find in college football. A lot of people were saying that it was just the scheme at Wake Forest that made him look good. That couldn't be further from the truth. That offense required him to make touch throw after touch throw, not easy at all. His wideouts didn't get a ton of separation either. He's just a really good player, guys. The best quarterback they've had since Brady Quinn. Now that's not saying a ton, but still. So far in the year, Sam has thrown for 1,712 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 3 picks. He's been good for sure. Now there are issues on this Notre Dame offense that directly line up with Hartman's weaknesses. He doesn't like to be pressured. When you take a look at the splits, that becomes very evident. You'll see when he's kept clean, he has over a 91 passer rating. And when he's under pressure, that drops all the way down to a 34. So absolutely enormous drop off there. That combined with the fact that his receivers are not that good, if you can collapse that pocket around him, good things will happen for your defense. If you can't get pressure though, that's when the problems start. He's too smart and too accurate, he will eat you up. He's also not scared of the middle of the field at all, so this is a game I don't want to see Tackett in for. The way Tackett drifts and gets lost in coverage will absolutely be exposed by Hartman, but as you all know, this is an Irish offense that loves to run the ball, and when you have two good backs, that makes sense. Audric Estime is the workhorse, coming in at a massive 5'11", 230-pound frame. He has been one of the better backs in the country up to this point. USC did do a fantastic job limiting him last year, holding him to just above 40 yards. But in my opinion, the best back that Notre Dame has is 6'1", 195-pound freshman Jeremiah Love. This guy reminds me a lot of CJ Gable when he was at USC. He's tall but smooth and very explosive. He can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. He is a big-time player that I think is in store for a pretty big day against the SC defense, unfortunately for us. I like this two-back combo they have. They complement each other very well and are both good players in their own right. Now for a big back, Estime does dance a little too much for me. You'd like to just see him hit the hole at full speed. Jeremiah Love actually does that better than Estime does in my personal opinion, and if I were the one running that offense, Jeremiah Love would be in the majority of the time. Now, this wouldn't be a Notre Dame offense without having a good tight end, and unfortunately for us, they have another one. While he isn't on the level of a Michael Mayer, Mitchell Evans is a fantastic player that is going to make plays in this game. He's the leading receiver on this team, and he actually has 8 more catches than the closest wideout. So he is option 1 for Sam Hartman. Look for him to get some targets early as ND tries to jumpstart this offense that's been out of sync for nearly a month. And earlier I said the wideouts weren't that good, and I meant that. They don't really separate, and I wouldn't say they scare you from a speed perspective either. Chris Tyree is the one name to know here. He can make some plays downfield. They don't utilize him in the way you'd expect though, and to be frank, it doesn't make sense the way they use him. So I'm not sure if they'll change things up for this game, but be on lookout for that. Now, of course, with the deficiencies in the SC secondary, we don't know if we'll be able to take advantage of their weak wideout room, especially taking a look at the corner depth this week. Oof, it's not looking good. Damani, Christian Roland Wallace, and Jacoby Covington are all dealing with injuries. Makai Lemon was running with the corners this week, so that tells you how bad the situation is. But now I want to talk about the Irish offensive line. Normally, this is regarded as one of the better lines in football year in, year out, but I don't think that it's as good a line in South Bend as we've seen in years past, especially in the run game. Now, everyone knows Joe Alt, big-time NFL prospect at the left tackle spot, one of my favorite players to watch in the entire country. He's elite with both his footwork and his hand placement, love watching him. Overall though, last week, this line was okay in pass protection against Louisville, but in the run game, wow, they got schooled the entire game. Louisville loaded the box and dared ND to throw it, and they couldn't do it, and the Cardinals defense shut them down all day in the running game. The line was just overwhelmed, and by the second half, they shut it down and really didn't play well at all. So the game plan for SC here has to be to stop the run first and foremost and hope like hell the secondary can hold up in the passing game. The pass rush is going to be key for SC as well. We talked about Hartman's struggles with pressure. Guys, we can't wait until the third quarter of this game for the pass rush to show up. They need to make a big impact from the first drive on. Jamil Muhammad and Solomon Byrd have to live in the Irish backfield, and they have to push to make Sam as uncomfortable as possible. But the biggest issue for this ND offense outside of the wideouts has been the play calling. The offensive coordinator Parker has just made some absolutely baffling calls this year, and Marcus Freeman revealed that Sam Hartman doesn't always have the ability to change the call on the line, which for a veteran like that, that's as smart as he is just ridiculous. I mean, that makes no sense. But multiple times in the Louisville game, I saw plays where they get up to the line, there's more defenders in the box than the line can block. Hartman looks over the sideline like, are we really doing this? And then the play goes nowhere. I mean, it's just so confusing to watch. It's really just counterintuitive. I completely get why the ND fans are over him. This battle, if you can call it that, between Grinch and Parker is truly a mid-off. I made a joke on Twitter that the losing coordinator should resign, and while I was joking, it is bad on bad, weakness on weakness. Curious to see who comes out on top in that category. If our defense gets run by this offensive coordinator and this lackluster offense, the cries for Grinch to be fired are only going to get louder and louder. All right, now flipping over to the defensive side, this is where the game will be decided. The USC offense against the ND defense. We saw what happened last year. SC was able to run the ball at will against them, and Caleb had his Heisman moment, or moments, I guess. They couldn't bring him down. He was running circles around them all day. It was very fun to watch. So you know that Marcus Freeman will be doing everything in his power to bracket Caleb in the pocket and try to limit his playmaking, which, yeah, good luck with that. I will be very curious to see how they go about doing it exactly. But taking a look at this Irish defense, this is a defensive unit that has been quite good so far this year. They're the number 12 total defense, and they're also number 10 in S&P+. So overall, a very good unit. Louisville did run it all over them last week, but I would put more on that them just being fatigued and wore down. They haven't had a bye week yet. These guys are exhausted, and the Irish offense was not putting them in great spots last week either. But the main area of struggle for this ND defense, and this will sound very familiar to SC fans, but it's tackling. They don't tackle well at all. They have missed 66 tackles on the year, which is not good. Last week against Louisville, you saw terrible angles being taken again and again. As an SC fan, I loved watching that. But as an SC fan, I can also understand the frustration because we are even worse at tackling than they are. So look for SC to have some explosive plays if we can get the ball into our playmakers' hands in space. Now, there are two key players I want to highlight on this defense. First one being linebacker JD Bertrand. This is the engine of the Irish defense. As we know and don't often see fulfilled, in the 4-2-5, the linebackers are given a ton of responsibility, and Bertrand produces. So far in the year, he's racked up 41 tackles, a sack, and 2 passes defensed. He has a 70.4 defensive grade from PFF, but as we saw last year, he does struggle in space. The middle of the field is going to be very important in this game, so Bertrand's ability to cover our guys crossing into the middle of the field will be a key matchup. The other key player is star cornerback Benjamin Morrison. He's a 6', 185-pound cover corner that is a playmaker, great ball skills, big-time player. He's not the best tackler, which is pretty par for the course across the board for this defense. But in coverage, this guy is dangerous. He can bait the quarterback, great speed to close on the ball. I'm a big fan of his game as well. Also, Cam Hart is a Sunday corner that actually didn't play in this game last year. So yeah, this secondary is very good. The strength of this defense for sure. The key to attack them has to be hit them with the quick game early on, and in the third and fourth quarter, test them vertically with Brendan Rice. Now that is assuming that Zachariah isn't playing. If he's in there, the game plan is let Zachariah cook. Simple as that. They don't have anyone that can run with him. Frankly, no one in the country does. So yeah, that's the ND defense. Now let's hit G's keys and then we'll get into some score predictions. All right, first up for G's keys, let's go to the offense. The first one is rhythm passing. Over the last few weeks, we have seen way too much hero ball from Caleb in this USC offense. Not every play has to be a 20-second extravaganza of Caleb running around and doing crazy shit. Lincoln needs to scheme some guys open, be more creative with his play calling, and let's just try to hit some guys in stride. Key number 2 plays into that, it's open the playbook. You guys have heard me say Lincoln has been incredibly vanilla and bland so far with the offense. We've seen different versions of the same RPOs over and over and over just ad nauseum. So open up that playbook, let's see some new creative stuff, and let's really test this ND defense. And the last key here is replicate the run game. Of course, last year we ran it all over them. All week we heard how they were going to dominate the trenches, but it was us who won that battle. Now our offensive line from a run blocking standpoint is nowhere near last year, so this will be a big challenge. But hey, when you have Marshawn Lloyd and Austin Jones, run that ball. All right, flipping over to the defensive keys. Key number 1 is back from last week. It's pressure. I showed you the splits earlier. Sam Hartman completely changes when he's under pressure. I think our pass rush is better than their offensive line. So let's go prove it. Pressure Sam Hartman from the first drive on and don't let up. Key number 2, this shouldn't be too much to ask. It's just get a few stops. I am well past the point of expecting this defense to shut people down. Get 3 or 4 stops during the course of this game. If our offense is on, that should be enough to win it. And the last key here, again, this shouldn't be too much to ask, but it's just average tackling. If USC is just an average tackling team on the year, the Colorado and Arizona State games are not close. I don't know what they do in practice, but hey, go out there and just be average tacklers. If guys are missing tackles, take them out of the game. All right, guys, so those were G's keys. Now let's get into the score prediction. Now, this is one I have zero read on. I came into the week extremely confident. That started to tail off on Wednesday, and now we're here on Friday. I have no idea what's going to happen. Zero clue. I am completely and entirely in the dark here. Every possible outcome I could see happening. I could see us blowing them out. I could see them blowing us out. I could see a close win for us, a close win for them, a bunch of turnovers on both sides, a defensive battle. I have no idea what's going to happen. Zero clue. But with that being said, I do have SC winning this one 34-28 in a close one. My thinking is we will win this game because we must. Plain and simple. If we drop this one, the negativity will reach new levels within the fan base and the national media. So we gotta win. I don't even care how it looks, just win the damn game. All right, guys, so I do want to hear from you, of course. What are your thoughts about this game? And make sure to give me your score predictions down below as well. If you did happen to enjoy this game preview, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do want to help support the channel in an even bigger way, you can do so over on my Patreon for only $1 a month. Thank you guys so much for all your continued support. You are all awesome, and as always, take care and fight on. Beat the Irish.